Hey there, fabulous ladies. Welcome to Bring Back Your Pink, where we celebrate the fabulousness of midlife and beyond. I am Jen B, your host, your biggest fangirl and impact-driven entrepreneur living my biggest and boldest life, so you can too. Get ready to leave behind societal expectations and embrace a life filled with laughter, joy, and endless possibilities. So stand tall, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the world of living life in full color. Together, we'll rediscover the power of being unapologetically ourselves, and we will release our inner vibrancy, and together we will bring back our pink. Let's make every moment count, girls. Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to another episode of Bring Back Your Pink, the podcast where midlife is just the beginning. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming my friend and mindset coach, Jess Soto-Ramirez, to the show. Jess is a dynamo in the world of business empowerment for women, and she's here to kindle the fire within you. Having navigated the winding road of entrepreneurship herself, Jess has transformed her journey into a beacon for others. She understands the mental hurdles and the high stakes of business, and she's dedicated to equipping you with the mindset and tools to become the empowered boss you're meant to be. With Jess's guidance, you're not just learning to survive in business and life, you're learning to thrive. She's all about helping you align your journey with a powerful mindset, reclaiming your strength and surging your confidence to towering new heights. So let's get ready to supercharge your business and life. And let's dive in and light up your path to success with Jess. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you, Jen. Wow, big boots to fill with those words. Thank you.
Well, I know you pretty well, so I know what I'm writing about here. So I know that every word is true, my love. Every word is true.
Oh, look, we do what we can in life, right? And we do what we can to just be the best version of ourselves. So you got to claim it, right?
100%. And, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come on, because one, you've known me for a very long time, from when I hid behind you at a photo shoot because I didn't want to be noticed or seen, to being who I am now. And you have walked a journey yourself, and, your mindset advice has always been so brilliant for me. And I thought it would just be really good to have you on, dropping your pearls of wisdom to the ladies, that might be listening, because this is a tough time, and, we can get very kind of, faded.
Yeah, 100%. Life can happen, right?
and it does. So I do have some set questions, but I know we're probably going to deviate from those, but that's fine, because that's
what we do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I thought I'll start with the first one, because that often sparks a conversation. So the mental aspect of business, and let's just go life in general, can often be overlooked, especially as we're heading into midlife. So what are some common mindset challenges you've noticed women face, and how do you approach these when you're working with them?
I automatically go to this idea of women feeling like not enough, this feeling of not enoughness, not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not quiet enough, not loud enough, not outgoing enough, not like whatever it is. Yeah. Everybody puts their own in there. And this not enoughness seems to cultivate this resistance that we have to allow our lights to shine. So when we do get put in a space where it's like, okay, I have to speak up, or I have to make decisions, or I have to step into my business and be the leader, those are really moments that gets really challenged to have to take those steps, because we feel not enough, right? And so it just keeps breeding this this concept that we're not worthy, that we can't do it, that we don't have the skills, that we're not capable, that we're frauds. And it's just really sad. It's really sad when that starts to take over our lives.
Yeah, and especially as we get to, a certain age, let's be honest, where we're going, I'm not young enough, for example, like we're talking about the not enough. I'm not young enough to do that. I'm not young enough to be the face of my business, and it's tough. It's really, really tough. And
Yeah.
it can create a lot of, well, people can be held back because of that, held back so much.
Yeah, totally. Like, I feel like, I'm 40, and turning 40 was exciting for me, but that excitement came because I was able to witness women that were living midlife in a very full way, you being one of those, right? And, I mentioned you in my podcast as well, because when I spoke about that, because I think it's really important that we see other women actually really shining in their light at whatever stage in life. And when I've been able to see other women do it, I'm like, fuck, why should I be concerned about getting older? If anything, I feel like I get riper and juicier.
Absolutely.
And it means that I start to understand myself better, and I can deal with this shit better, right? I can deal with those challenges of not enoughness and all of that. And you know what you said about feeling too old, like, I have, well, not now, but I have looked at people and just gone, wow, they're so young and beautiful and successful, and they're so great. And, it's easy to start thinking, oh, well, then I'm too old. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be speaking my mind, whatever. But then it's like, well, no, hang on a second, because I've seen other women come before me that have really stepped into their light and into their power. I should fucking do it too, because I've got, sorry for the, me, I'll be dropping the bombs here.
I was going to say, I think I put explicit on every single episode because so do I.
Who the fuck knows what's going to come up next?
Exactly.
But I also take responsibility for how I'm showing up for the people younger than me, right? As in my children and the people that may look up to me. I don't want them to ever think, oh, I have to be young to be doing what I want to do in life. No, you could be any age to be doing what you want to do in life. And I remember a while ago, I ran like a networking event, and a lady in her 70s came. And God, I was so impressed by her. I was like, look at you go. Look at you create. Look at you bring people together. Look at you with your walking frame, which is not holding you back one bit. She stood up. She spoke up. She brought people. And I was just like, fuck, that's goals. That is total goals.
Yeah. And you know what? It's one of the reasons, I guess, Bring Back Your Pink even existed, is actually not just for women in their 50s, my age, is for the women like you that are 40, are now looking ahead and freaking out perhaps about the fact that, like, 50 is only 10 years ago, but for you to be able to see women out there just living their best lives and, having a blast and having fun and not being afraid, not sitting by the fire bloody knitting with slippers on, we're out like traveling, and we're out dancing, and we're out going to all sorts of events, and we can building businesses as well.
It's funny you say that. It just made me think. My mum's always been very young at heart, and so I've always seen that. My mum's in her 60s, and she still goes out dancing almost every weekend. She's got a real vibrancy about life, which I love. But I remember growing up, being in high school, and some of my friends commenting on my mum about, like, oh, your mum's so cool, and she's still so young, and she's still so hip. And I've never actually thought about it in this light until you've said it, but obviously the comparison to their mums was very different, right? So they were able to see something different in my mum, and I could definitely see the difference between my mum and their mums, right? That it was like, okay, my mum is different. So I think it's so important that we show people different, because, like I said, and I know for some of my friends, it was like, oh, turning 40, oh shit, like, it's this idea of like, what do I do with my life? I actually had a friend say to me not that long ago, oh, well, what's the point? I'm already 40 anyway. And I'm like, hang on a second. So you're telling me you want to live like this for the next potential 40 years of your life? And she was like, oh, okay. Like that question made her shift her mindset and go, well, actually, no, this is not what I want to live. I don't need to put up with this just because I'm 40, right? Like, that's when you vocalize it, you realize how easy it is to get stuck in this mindset
100%.
that it's like a blanket rule, right? Like everybody thinks 40 is old, so we all think 40 is old. We all think 40s or 50 or whatever age, and it's like, no. We have to stop and we have to question these ideas that are going around society and really bring ourselves to, does that align for me? Does that feel good for me?
And also, I love that. Like, are you going to spend the next 40 years feeling like that? This is midlife. This is the middle part of our life. We've still got a lot of it left.
Absolutely.
We need to shift that mindset to go, okay, like we still have so much life left and so much to give. We've lived, we have experience. We can help others. Like a young friend of mine's not long had a baby, and she actually messaged me going, I'm free this week, if you want to come over. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it was like, well, so that'll be great if you want to go and have a bath or a shower, and I'm happy to hold an unsettled baby. And because her husband's gone back to work and he is in the Navy, and like it's all nights, and you just feel like you've got some wisdom that you can impart. Not because you're old, because you've been there.
yeah, totally. And that you can still keep living life to the fullest,
100%.
On the weekend, actually, I went out with my son, who's 8, and he's like, Mom, can we go kick the ball up at the field? I was like, all right. He knows I'm not the greatest of sports. Sports never been my strong point, but I'll give it a go. I love his energy. And so he's like my little coach, right? Mm-hmm. And so we started throwing around the footy ball, and he was like, after a few tries, because I didn't get it naturally, but after I kept trying, he said to me, oh, Mum, you're 40 and you're still kicking.
Yeah, thanks, Cruz.
But I took it as such a compliment, because I was like, in his little 8-year-old mind, 40 is probably really old. So he probably thought, oh my God, my mum's still kicking goals, and it's like, well, those are that's the type of role model I want to be for my kids and whoever watches.
Exactly. And speaking of an 8-year-old mind thinking 40 is old, I remember in a job interview when I was 22, and they asked my 5-year plan, and I'm like, yeah. And then when I'm really old, like 30, and the interviewer said, I just turned 30, I went, right. Well, it's not actually that old. But I still can't believe that at that time, I thought 30 was ancient. I'm like, take 100%. Me back.
Yeah, at that point, you feel like you're ageless as well.
Well, you do totally, don't you? But the mind, like we all know the mind, and me with my journey, I know, the mind was the thing that was holding me back. So the importance of working with your mind, how do you even start that process, and what does it involve? Because
honestly, I think, go on.
Mindset's such a buzzword now, it's like mindset, but it is so important. It's not a buzzword for no reason. I know that I would never be here hosting a podcast. I never thought that was in my future, without shifting my mindset.
It really is one of those things that I think it's such a buzzword, and I think especially in business, it's such a buzzword, and we can get really lost in what mindset really is. And honestly, for me, mindset is getting really clear on your thoughts and really understanding your thoughts. And then how are they affecting you? How are they helping you, or how are they working for you, or how are they working against you? Right. So a little example is, I remember before I started my first business, this is now as empowerment coach, that's my second business. First one was in e-com. So I was kids streetwear clothing designer. And prior to starting that out of business, I always used to say, I'm not creative. I've never been creative. I've got no creative bone in my body. And for whatever reason, I've always been drawn to the mind. I've always been drawn to how our brain works and all of that before business. And I caught myself going, hang on a second, I keep saying I'm not creative. Why do I keep telling myself I'm not creative? Like, where is that even coming from? And if I hadn't have shifted that thought, I would never have stepped into my first business, right? My first business was based around creativity. with no creativity, without a belief that I could be creative, well, I would never have done it. Simple as that. So that's a really good example of like how your thoughts are managing your life, right? Back to my friend's comment of like, oh, well, I'm 40, so what's the point? Well, hang on a second. You're 40. You have another, hopefully 40 plus years to live, right? So it's that shift in mindset that we have to get so clear on, and let's not get complicated on the buzzwords and we have to do this to hack our brain and blah, blah, blah. No. Let's just bring it down back to earth, back to you, back to what you think, back to what you believe, and how those choices and those thoughts are actually dictating your life.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And when you become self-aware or you start on the journey and you get some self-awareness, you can really notice the difference between the positive and the negative. So, I know myself, and I now have a technique when the mean girl comes in, because she's still there. She doesn't go anywhere. I just manage her now. But she comes in through the door on one side of my head. She comes in and chitters at me, and I'm like, whatever. And then I open the door and I boot her out the other side. I'm like, bugger off. I don't want to listen to you anymore. So, I've found too, using some of those visual techniques can really help the journey start.
Yeah.
You become, I guess, more in tune. And it is that self-awareness, isn't it? And
100%. I think self-awareness is the first place to start, right? If you can't change what you don't know.
100%.
And if nothing changes, then nothing changes, right? So at some point, you have to bring awareness to it. You have to actually intentionally go, hang on a second, why am I having that thought? Like, hang on a second, why do I keep saying that to myself? Hang on a second, why do I keep throwing around these blanket statements,
Yeah.
And it's not until you do that once you do that, then you can get clear. Then you can go, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I keep telling myself I'm not creative. So, of course, I'm not going to do anything creative, right? Or I keep telling myself I'm not good enough. Well, then why would I want to jump on and do a live? I keep telling myself, and like you with the podcast, I told myself, I've got nothing to say. I've got nothing to offer, right? Yes. And then I procrastinated over my podcast for too fucking long, to be honest with you. Yeah. And until I had to pull myself back, get really self-aware of what I was telling myself and change that. So for you, it's a visual thing, right? You imagine your mean girl popping in one side of your ear, coming out the other. For me, it's probably more of a written thing, or it's a mental thing, right? Where I'm like, hang on a second. And I use a lot of metaphors in my thinking. I look at life and I reflect a lot about life and how that goes back to business life, personal life, etc. And so for me, it's kind of getting clear of that, and then having something like, call it an affirmation, right? It's not about toxic positivity, but for me, it's an affirmation. But for me, I'm all about teaching my clients, you create your own affirmation. None of this of like blanket rule again, I am brave, I am bold, blah, blah, blah. If you're not feeling that, it's very hard to then go, oh, yes, I'm shifting my mindset. No, you have to actually create your little increments, like steps to help you get to that point. So you may not be at the point where you're like, I'm brave and I'm going to shine bright, but you can start somewhere that's going to help you take a step closer to that.
Look, mine was, a 2.5-year journey. This does not happen overnight.
No. And I don't think it's ever done, Jen.
It's never done. It's never, ever done. And I think you've got to be again, the self-awareness comes in, that you've got to be mindful that these things do sneak back in. And, you've got to know how to work with it. And actually that leads me to something else I did want to speak to you about, because I often talk about, I've stepped into my power, I've reclaimed my power. And I know that's something that you love so much. What does that mean to you? And how do you, when you're working with ladies, facilitate that transformation?
I love the concept of reclaiming your power. And I just want to preface this as well with, power has been used as a dirty word, right? Power has been used with a really negative connotation in our society. It's been used with people abusing power, etc. I'm not talking about that side of power. Yes, there's people that abuse their power. What I'm talking about is a power that each and every one of us have within us, right? And the way I envision it, it's like this little, for me, it's a visual thing where I see this ball of fire just sitting in my gut, just kind of churning, and I need to tap into it every moment of the day. And this is something that I work with my clients of, like, you reclaiming your power is literally, it's one choice at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every decision that you are making, are you reclaiming your power in that moment, or are you handing over your power? Are you handing over your power to that thought that keeps telling you you're not good enough? Or are you going to reclaim your power in that moment and say, hang on a second, I am good enough, or I can work towards it, or I am worthy, or, you know, whatever it is that you need to do to shift that, that's how you reclaim your power. Because when you start to reclaim your power, you are capable of fucking incredible things in your life.
Absolutely.
But it's those moments, it's in the smallest moments where it's like a choice where you make when you wake up in the morning. Do I want to hit snooze, or do I want to get out of bed and go for a quick walk because that's going to give me the energy? That's reclaiming your power. You know, the moment that you feel like, oh, nobody wants to hear anything I have to say, that's the moment you tap in and you go, hang on a second, I have something valuable to offer because I know someone else can gain something from this. That's the moment you reclaim your power and go, no, I am going to do this. So that, to me, what reclaiming power is. And that's something that, you know, pushing with.
So we had a little tech glitch there, people. Thank you, internet world. Jess was talking about, and because I'm very authentic. I'm very much about being, you know, what you see is what you get. I don't edit this podcast, so that's why I'm just like running with this right now. So here you go, behind the scenes, tech glitches. Jess was talking about reclaiming the power and your power.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, okay, I've got to get my mojo back.
Thank you, internet.
Reclaiming your power it's in the small moments that you make. It's in the small decisions that you make every single day, moment of your day. So it is in that moment where, do you wake up and do you decide to press snooze, or do you decide to get up and go for a quick walk in the morning because you know what makes you feel good, right? Or is it the moment that when you are about to share something or go live or do something in your business, when you're like, oh, nobody has anything I have to say, nobody wants to hear anything I have to say, that's the moment you go, hang on a second, I need to shift that thought and think about who is actually going to gain something from what I'm saying. You know, it's those moments where we reclaim our power and we make, like, it's the smallest choices, well, what we think is small, but the ones that I think have the most incredible impact in our lives.
100%. And you were there, you know, holding my hand in one step I took to reclaim my power back in Airlie Beach last year when I got in a swimsuit.
Yes.
For the first time in 15 years. That's a tiny step, but it's a massive step. For me,
it's not tiny, Jen. It's humongous.
It was humongous for me. Like, but for others who are out in their swimsuits all the time, it's tiny. But for me, it was massive. And, you know, that's the thing, girls. Like, it's these teeny, tiny steps that make all the difference. Going, yes, I am, you know, I'm going to stop wearing black. I'm going to wear color. That was me reclaiming the power. I'm going to get in that swimsuit and I'm going to, you know, appear in public, you know, after a long time in a swimsuit. That's reclaiming my power. You know, when I was in Hawaii, out of 500 people, thank you, pink hair, got asked to dance up on stage at a luau. And I was like, no, okay, no, I'm going to do it. That was me taking another step to reclaim my power. It's just these little steps that happen every day. But each time you look at them and, you know, face it and give it a wink, as I call them, my challenges, you reclaim some of yourself and your power.
You know what you're also doing there, Jen, is like you're creating new stories for yourself, right? And you're creating a new belief for yourself. So when you've always told yourself, oh, no, I can't get in a swimsuit. Well, first of all, you've interrupted your comparisonitis, yeah? Because you've actually stepped in and gone, actually, I'm going to stop looking at everybody else and I'm actually going to start looking at myself, and I'm not going to worry about where anybody else is in their race, right? I'm going to run my own race. That's a big step in itself. It's not just you making a choice to shift and change and jump into a swimsuit. It's actually you making a choice to choose you rather than comparing yourself to anybody else. When you get up and you dance on stage, when you've always told yourself, oh, I can't dance. Well, that's you going, actually, I can get up and fucking have some fun, right? Yeah. I bring this to my life. I make a choice to bring this to my life. And for everybody, that's different. You know, for you, it was a swimsuit. For me, it was, you know, sitting around tables with women that were bloody incredible that I felt I wasn't good enough to hang around with. You know, like it's things like that. It's all those choices that we make that we go, hang on, I'm just going to push this really uncomfortable stage because that's where your growth happens. It's that moment that you stretch past that awkward feeling of jumping in the pool for the first time with your clossie, or when you go and have a conversation with someone you highly admire. You know, it's all those moments that start to stretch you and allow you to grow into that better version of yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And it is so, it's so liberating as well. Like it is just so liberating. But that kind of leads me to something else, you know, I wanted to talk about because, you know, my audience is, you know, mainly midlife women. As we age, our confidence does wane. And especially through our midlife transitions, you know, there's nothing worse than you're standing over chat to someone and you feel a power surge coming on and you're going, oh no, you know, I'm going to go red in a minute. And like, it really does, you know, make you less confident. What are your tips for boosting confidence and keeping it there?
I think that's a part of you just being honest with yourself, right? Of like, this is what it is and this is what life is for me. And what am I going to do with it? So say that moment where you're going like, oh shit, I'm going to go red. Okay, you might just want to just point out the fact that, you know what, I think I'm going red because this is how I feel. Like we normalize it. If we can normalize it, then it's like, it's no longer an issue. It's no longer a problem. It's no longer a space for judgment. You just have to, I think, own your shit sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I do actually do that now. It's like I was sitting at this event yesterday and there was a lady next to me with her fan. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm sitting next to you with a bit of secondhand fan because like menopause. And, you know, it's when you open up those conversations too, you know, everybody has a story. So we got chatting and you know, we ended up having a really good conversation. And then she actually was doing like big fans. So it was actually bringing all of us around.
It's like, I'm sharing my fan with all of you.
Yeah, I'm sharing the fan love. And I think I agree. Just making it normal because this is our lives.
It is.
Every woman is going to go through menopause.
Yeah.
We can't hide it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to us. So we might as well just go, you know what? This is my life.
Yeah, totally. And then on the back of that, I would say kindness and compassion with yourself. Yeah, because we can often have this abundantly for everybody around us. But when it comes to us, we are our own worst enemy. So showing ourselves some kindness and some compassion and being understanding with where we're at in life, where that it's okay to be where we are, that we are our best selves and all of those things to actually show ourselves love, I think is critical. And you show yourself love in the way that you show up. You show yourself love in the way that you treat yourself, in the way that you talk to yourself, right? How many times do we hear, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, what an idiot. Or blah, blah, blah. Enough. Like that stuff needs to stop because that starts to penetrate in how you feel. Your thoughts then leading to your emotions leading to your actions or lack of actions. So we want to be able to tap into those thoughts of like, what am I thinking of myself and how can I bring a bit of kindness and love to those thoughts?
I have a little saying that I think about in my head as well, which, you know, could help some people. Like talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend.
Exactly.
You know, like you would not speak to your best friend or family oftentimes the way you speak to yourself.
Absolutely.
We are so mean to ourselves sometimes.
I say the same thing. It's like if I wouldn't say to my 12-year-old daughter, if I wouldn't say it to my, you know, my mom, then why should I say it to myself? Why is it okay to say it to myself? It's not. This is something I teach my kids as well from very young. I always have. You speak to yourself with kindness. Yes, we can get frustrated, all of that, but we always need to show ourselves kindness. And if you wouldn't say it to someone else, then don't even dare say it to yourself. The thing is, we can get away with it. That's why we do it. We can get away with it. But that's the deepest, yeah, but that's the deepest conversation we'll ever have with anybody in our entire life. You know, the one you have with yourself is the longest and the deepest. So take care of that relationship that you have with yourself.
Yeah, I agree. And going on from that, I want to talk about starting a business in midlife, because, you know, so many people think, oh, I'm too old, it's too late, you know, I can't do that. You know, what is the first step you'd recommend for someone feeling stuck on that?
The first thing that comes to my mind is what you always say. You're never too old and it's never too late. Right? Never. You've claimed that, like, and it's true. And I think it's that we have to redefine the story that we have. Yeah. So if you are telling yourself I'm too old, it's because you have a story and you've allocated a belief to that story that you are too old. You need to start to debunk that belief, right? Yeah. So often 100%. We're carrying this backpack of beliefs that start to weigh us down. And I actually did a podcast episode about this, about the beliefs that we carry. They're like, it's like a backpack, and we've been bombarded with them, and they've been loaded into our backpack. Some of them are ours, some of them were the teachers, some of them were the parents, some of them were the friends, some of them were neighbors, whatever, that we've just been, some of them came through TV, society, etc. But we carry them. At some point, we have to take that backpack off, literally put it on the table and pull every one of those stupid beliefs out and question, okay, is this a keeper or is this going in the bin? And so if you starting a new business have this backpack of beliefs that is telling you, hang on a second, you're too old, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, people, you can't wear something like that, you can't say those things, look how old you are, you need to start really debunking and cleaning out your backpack so that you can walk a little bit lighter.
100%. And girls, you know, a lot of you would have heard my story, but trust me, made redundant 52, started new business 52. You started a podcast at 55. Trust me, you can do all the things.
And look how many people are gaining from your podcast, right? Like how many people connecting with your story. Look how many people get inspired by what you do, because we need more of this in our society. We need more of these role models. We need more of these examples. And just like you can be, many other women can be. The listeners can be, because that's what's there for them. That's what's on offering for them. But it's up to them whether they're ready to take that step.
Yeah. And I always say, you know, and I mean, I used to say to Chelsea as a little thing, you know, you can be whatever you want to be. Truly, that can still be the case in your 50s. Yeah. There's no reason we can't do these things. Yeah, like it's just, you just need to have faith in yourself. You know,
yeah, and sometimes you just need to challenge the belief that you have.
Yeah, you do. And I mean, I guess again, as I say, it's like me, you know, had I not, if I had been working with business coaches and things at the time I was made redundant because I had a side hustle, I don't know if I ever would have had the guts to do it. So this is the thing, girls, surround yourself by like-minded people, surround yourself by people that are going to lift you up, not people that are going to say, why are you doing that at your age? Like, seriously?
But that is going to be the main response you're going to get. Like, let's be honest, the majority of people, and they don't always say it with negativity, they can come from a place of love and concern, but often what they're doing is projecting their fears onto you. Exactly. So we have to be so careful about who we share these things with, and how, again, are we going to put their belief in our backpack, or are we going to say, no, that's not my belief, you can hold on to that yourself?
That can go in the, you know, the bin.
Exactly. Yeah.
So lastly, if you could leave the beautiful listeners with just one piece of advice for creating a life that truly inspires them, so they can reclaim their power. And I mean, you always hear me talk about this, but be who they were meant to be in the first place. What would that be?
I think I would say be open to challenging yourself.
Yeah.
Because the growth happens in the challenge. It doesn't happen in the comfort zone. The growth happens in the challenge. And so if we can at least challenge ourselves, and I'm not saying you've got to go challenge yourself and throw yourself out of a plane, right? That's my idea of fun. I know that's not everybody's idea of fun, but it could be little things, right? Like challenge yourself to try a new food, Challenge yourself to go for a walk in a different location. Challenge yourself to actually sit down in silence rather than being sitting and scrolling aimlessly on your phone. Like it's the little things, right? When you start to do these little things, then you can do the bigger things. Start somewhere. So be prepared to challenge yourself, whether that be your thoughts or your actions. Just be okay with getting curious. Just get curious. Don't throw judgment on yourself. Just get curious and just give yourself a bit of stretch.
I love that so much because, you know my journey well. I've said this multiple times, but you know that I've set myself these challenges, and I know without having done them, I wouldn't be here right now. Like I would be 100%. Here, but I would not be here on this podcast. I mean, starting this podcast was a challenge for me. Having the launch party was a challenge for me. So it's all these things, if something makes you feel uncomfortable, but it's going to be a good thing, that's your challenge. And those are the things you need to run with.
It's kind of when you're driving a manual car where there's that little bit where you like accelerating, and if you accelerate, then you can keep going. But if you take your foot off the accelerator, then you're just going to stall. It's that moment. It's that kind of that magic moment in between where you have to make a decision, and that decision is going to either get you going or it's going to make you stall.
Yes. Yeah. It's that's it. You've just got to keep going and trust in yourself. Trust in yourself.
Yeah.
On that note, beautiful Jess, where can everyone find you?
They can find me. I love to hang out on the gram. So it's
like
Jess Soto-Ramirez. Yeah, like you. So it's JESS SOTORAMIREZ. I should make up a jingle or something for that.
You should.
So long.
You should.
We learn jingles better. That's where I love to hang out. Also got my website, jesssotoramirez.com. If you have any thoughts, questions, whatever it might be, come and jump onto my DMs and just let's chat. I love having a good chat, especially when it comes to women in business and just mindset stuff and reclaiming your power.
Yeah.
It really fuels my fire. So
it does. I know it does. And these will all be in the show notes, girls. So just pop down in case you didn't catch the jingle. Thank you, Jess, for coming on.
You so
I
much.
really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your advice, and I know the ladies will, because it is something that so many of us get stuck in. And that's why I thought it was so important to have you on. So thank you so much. And ladies, just remember, keep bringing back that pink each week. It's funny. I have a saying written to close a show, and I never ever do it, and I never say it exactly how it is. So every week it's different. But anyway, keep shining bright.
Your pink power.
Yeah, that's it. Keep shining bright, ladies, and thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Jen.
Hey, ladies, I created this podcast because I know we need more of it to help us bring back our pink and live our best lives. But guess what? We can't do this alone. So if you loved this episode, let's spread the word. Share it on your socials, send it to a friend, and don't forget to write us a review. By doing this, you become part of the movement to bring back your pink and inspire others to do the same. I'm incredibly grateful to have you in my world as we live life in full color and become our authentic selves. Together, we're unstoppable. Let's keep rocking and bringing back the pink.